Welcome to Roundtable Reads, where a group of professional and experienced perform a dramatic reading of original scripts. Tonight, the Antaries Prequels, Chapter 5, Nightmares. Our cast in order of appearance are David John Clark.
Hello.
Nick Buckland.
G'day.
Rahima Russell. Mark Healy. Carol Lawson. Corey Minns.
Hi.
Rodney Cupid. Rodney Twelvetree.
Hi.
And special guest appearances by Danae Cupid and Bradley J. Martin.
My thumbs are up.
I am Thorin Cupid, the writer, and I'll be reading the stage directions and voicing a character for next time. Special thanks to AAA Talent for providing so much of the talent for this project. Link above and in the description. Tonight's episode is quite surreal, with scenes changing like a dream. So just be aware of that. It may not follow a straight narrative. So without further ado, Antaries Prequels, Chapter 5, Nightmares. The crew of the Antaries, a cargo freighter working out of Engate Station, is captained by Andrew Harrow, supported by Security Officer David Menz, Quartermaster Paula Cargo Warren, Navigator Ian O'Connell, and the new engineer Ravi Van. As they occasionally fly jobs for the ubiquitous corporation, they also have a 420D artificial named Nigel, recently reskinned as a female. An abandoned housing estate. A military squad of 6 move through a deserted residential estate. The team are soldiers on patrol with military uniforms, weapons and kit. All are young men and women barely in their 20s. The estate is in ruins with graffiti and broken windows, overgrown grass, etc. From the rooftops, we see the group moving carefully through the centre area between 2 long block buildings. The view changes to a front-on of the group moving with care but not alarm. They stay clear of buildings and rubbish while watching every angle around them. Through the gap between 2 buildings, we can just see a couple of the members pass slowly. We watch from behind as the group continues its slow progress. From inside a building, we see through a door and a dirty, broken window pane, the group passing. It's obvious that the group is vulnerable to anything that might be hiding in these houses, but there's no expectation that this would be the case. The team is moving carefully, alert but not worried. The lead soldier raises a hand and the squad all stop and look outward. The leader presses a radio on his shoulder.
Unit 3-6 to base. We're at 6 and 12. No heat. We're progressing to...
Soldier 1 lifts his weapon and calls a warning.
Movement.
The squad instantly bring their weapons up and ready, but a shot rings out at the same moment and Soldier 4 drops, shot down.
Contact.
The squad go to cover, unsure where the attack came from. Lead moves to the fallen Soldier 4 and rolls them over. It's Tech. The commander tries to pull her to cover.
Medic!
Another soldier, Medic, joins them and they manage to get Tech behind a low wall.
Up there.
The soldier fires and there's answering fire. Lead turns to glance to make sure his team are covered, but turns back to the medic who is examining Tech. Somehow the medic is now Nigel. It looks to Lead and shakes its head. There's a second sound of gunfire and Soldier 2 is narrowly missed from a different angle.
They're flanking us.
Lead calls to his team, indicating with a hand gesture.
Fall back!
Soldier 1 and 2 do a quick jog behind the wall, but Soldier 3 is pinned down. We see Soldier 3, who is now Nav, is unable to move, looking frightened. Lead looks to his unit.
Covering fire on 3. 3!
Lead, Soldier 1 and Soldier 2 and Nigel open fire at the buildings. And for a moment the enemy fire stops. Nav tries to make a break, but as soon as he leaves cover there is a sound of enemy fire and he drops dead. 4 surviving members duck behind cover. Soldier 1, who is now captain, looks to Lead.
What now?
We pull back till we are clear of the buildings.
There's a higher-pitched whine and a puff of dust as a bullet passes through the low wall, just missing Nigel.
Shit! I've got piercers.
He turns to look at Captain, who is talking. As he does so, a patch of red appears on his chest and spreads to soak his shirt.
We could call an airstrike, even if it doesn't hit them. It might drive them into ground long enough to...
Captain glances down and notices the stain. He realises he is dead.
Oh.
Captain slumps forward, and another creature punches through the wall, and Soldier 2 now somehow Cargo's leg. Cargo screams.
Cover's no good. We've got to run. Go!
Nigel loops Cargo's arm over its shoulder and lifts her so they can run. Lee leans over the wall and fires back at the building wildly, still not sure of his attacker's location, while Cargo and Nigel make their spirited attempt to run to the corner of the building. There's a click on Lee's gun. In a horror, he looks at an LED message on the side. Gun jam. Lee ducks behind the wall. There's a howl of enemy bullets, and Cargo and Nigel drop dead. Lee sits with his back to the wall, his face frozen white as more holes are punched through the wall around him, and the sound of gunfire turns on. He closes in to his rictus features as he closes his eyes. Crossfade to the Antaries cryogenic room. The face changes from the young man to the much older figure of security. The camera pulls back, showing that security is lying asleep in a cryogenic chamber. The camera pans up to show the controls above him are displaying a warning.
Warning. Critical system failure. Vital functions compromised.
The camera pans to the side, where we see an identical screen showing the same warning above Captain's cryogenic chamber. Camera closes in on his face. We can just make out a group laughing, getting louder, as we crossfade to the Antares mess. Close up of the Captain's face, his eyes blink open and he starts at the sound of laughter around him. He's sitting in the mess, surrounded by security, Cargo, Nigel, Tech and Nat. The crew is laughing happily. Captain looks around the group, confused for a moment. They're all sitting around, discussing and joking good-naturedly while they eat noodles. Jives are passing back and forth.
Thought that it was a fuel leak, but Ian had just dropped aftershave.
Crew laughs easily at Nav's expense.
At least one of us knows how to wash, and I don't mean in your own sweat.
Cargo grins, but picks up a book to throw at him. Tech holds out a hand to stop her.
No, I'm only halfway through.
Security indicates dismissively to the small group of books along one wall.
I never bothered with this lot.
Well, I saw the movie, Blade Runner.
What, 1, 2 or 3?
The good one. None of this flat screen crap.
Captain gets up to pour himself a cup of coffee, still smiling.
There's no connection out here, so I figured.
When Captain returns to his chair, there's a new figure, Tom, wearing an outfit almost identical to Cargo.
So you were forced to actually read a book?
Again, the crew laugh easily.
At least I can read.
Tom doesn't even read the shipping instructions.
Oh, I don't need to. I know by instinct.
I hear that.
Captain is looking mildly confused, as if he has forgotten something.
Tom, I don't think you know everyone here.
No, he's before my time.
Tom is now wearing a spacesuit without the helmet.
But the book's not called Blade Runner.
No, this is the book from which the concepts were derived.
Stupid bloody movie anyway.
I liked it.
He should have just shot the bloody androids and be done with it.
Captain is looking at Tom, still unable to shake the feeling that there is something wrong.
Your suit.
Tom looks down at his suit.
What about it?
Your seal is open.
Tom bursts out laughing. The rest of the crew join him. Captain looks around the group, confused by their reaction. There is a sudden silence. All of the crew are dead in their places. Some have fallen forward, others leaning back on their chair. It is sudden, and there is no sign of violence or cause. There is a top-down view of the mess, which is now empty, except for the captain. In the cargo bay, Tom is standing in front of the airlock controls. He has his helmet on, but it's obvious that it's not done up properly.
What did you say, Captain?
Captain is standing in the middle of the cargo bay without having moved from the mess, coffee mug still in his hand. All he can think of now is warning Tom.
Your suit seal. Tom, check the seal.
Tom has turned and is operating the airlock controls.
Popping the hatch. Aye.
Captain now has nothing in his hands.
No, your suit seal. It isn't fastened.
Airlock opening. Airlock opening.
The airlock door opens and Tom turns to face Captain. He's smiling and gives a big thumbs up, and suddenly he is sucked out into space. Captain is trying to scream, but there's no sound coming from him. A girl's bedroom. This is a room for a prepubescent. Lots of childhood toys and memorabilia around. The walls are white with a few cartoon animals stuck on, and a counting poster, as well as a height chart. The room is dominated by the bed on which a little girl is sitting, crying. A man appears at the door, the girl's father, Warren. He's heavy-set and wears a beanie over a bald head. He pauses and then comes in to sit gently next to the girl.
Hey kiddo, how you holding up?
Girl tries to dry her eyes but doesn't answer. Warren takes off his beanie and passes it to her. She uses it to dry her eyes. They sit in silence for a while, and then the girl eventually manages to speak.
I don't want you to go.
Warren smiles and puts his arm around the girl.
Hey, it'll only be for a little while. I got you something.
Warren shows a small doll to the girl. She takes it curiously.
That's for you. We'll keep you safe on the way.
Somehow the white walls are all bare now. The girl considers the toy.
Andrew said that when they put you into cryogenic sleep, it's like dying.
Warren smiles to answer. But now he has an oxygen tube to his nose and is looking pale.
I wouldn't know. I haven't died before.
An artificial, a very early, clumsy model appears at the door.
It's time to go, Mr. Warren.
The room is now bare, white hospital room. Still with the same bed, Warren is wearing a surgery gown. This is his hospital room.
All right, I'm ready.
Girl panics and throws her arms around Warren.
Daddy, you need to stay.
Doctors begin to file into the room. Warren passes the little girl to the artificial.
It'll be fine, Paul. I'll see you soon.
The artificial scoops girl up and carries her out. The girl screams in defiance. The man is now lying in a hospital bed with doctors around and the sound of life monitor machines. It is obvious he's very ill. The girl is screaming, but the motion is moving slower now and her voice is fading to nothing under the sound of the life support machines. She starts to beat at the artificial with her doll. Warren on the bed is looking at the ceiling, slowly closing his eyes. The doll breaks in the girl's hands as she beats it against the impassive artificial. As she does so, all sound of her protests are silenced, and we hear only the sound of the life support flatlining. In slow motion, the girl is carried from the room screaming and crying silently. The monitor next to the father's bed reads,
Warning. Critical system failure. Vital functions compromised.
Crossfade to the Antaries cryogenic room. As the camera pulls back, we see the screen is now mounted next to cargo's cryogenic chamber. Panning across an identical screen with an identical message and attached to Tech's cryogenic chamber. The camera closes in until all we see is Tech's face. Crossfade to a gymnasium. Tech takes a deep breath and lets it out slowly. She opens her eyes and the camera pulls back to reveal her martial arts uniform with a red belt. She's standing on a large padded sparring mat and is surrounded by a group of others wearing the same uniform.
Hi!
An attacker runs in from one side, but she's ready and blocks the first attack, responding with a small jab. The attacker pulls back. The second one attacks from behind, but she turns and manages to deflect the blow. The attacker pushes the attack and Tech is forced to step back before she's able to get her counter-attack in. 3 more attacks and quick defenses, when suddenly a figure runs in from beside the camera and leaps. A foot lands squarely in Tech's chest, and she's knocked on her back. She lands on the mat, slightly winded. A figure leans over her mother.
So that's it then. You've given up.
Tech rolls to her feet. Mother is nowhere to be seen. Tech straightens her uniform, returns to combat stance.
Hi!
The leap comes again, but Tech dodges and follows with a kick of her own, which sends the attacker sprawling. The attacker lands at the feet of a man, her father, who shakes his head.
Now you're just showing off.
Tech drops her guard for an instant to process what her father says and is hit in the ribs. Clutching her ribs, she steps back out of range and comes to stand next to her mother.
I knew this was going to be too much for you. You should have stuck to your studies.
I'm doing fine in my studies.
Tech charges forward and drops 2 opponents. She turns to face another, but there is only her father standing there.
Just like your studies. You have to be the best. Nothing else will do. Look at me. Look at me.
An attacker leaps past father. Tech retreats from attack, but almost backs into her mother again.
And is this any life for a girl? Fighting, machines. You'll never find a nice man like this.
Tech is hit from the side and is in a sprawl. She rolls to her feet. She is hurting badly now. Mother and father are standing either side of her, speaking at her as she tries to defend off attacks. Many she's not able to block.
You need to learn your place, little lady.
You'll never get a placement with this attitude. Who will take you?
You're nothing but arrogance and wind.
You're just like your father.
Tech is furious now. She punctuates her words with a kick or a blow.
I am nothing like my father!
With a sudden thrust, we cut to the father's face, in close-up and shock. He looks down. We see Tech's hand is holding a knife in his stomach. Tech's face is shown close up, looking just as shocked as her father. Father looks back up incredulously, a trickle of blood escaping his mouth as he tries to speak. Tech's features harden. She pushes the knife hard. A wider shot shows we are now in a domestic home. Father falls slowly to the floor as Tech just stands over him watching. As far as she is concerned, he deserves far worse than this.
Time to get off this planet.
A bar. Two young men, Nav and his brother, are sitting at a table with beer in front of them. The empty glasses attest to the drinking that has already been done. Brother proposes a toast.
To the Hunter Star!
The Hunter Star! And all those that fly in her.
How many crew are you going out with?
120. I'm the 4th navigator.
Man, I can't wait till I get my chit.
Don't worry, little brother. By the time I get back from my first run, you'll be old enough to fly out with us.
Until then, how about we find other ways to pass the time?
Nav follows his gaze to see a couple of young girls sitting at a nearby table, looking at the men and giggling. Nav smiles and waves them over.
Hello, ladies. You look like you could do with some company.
The girls saunter over playfully, but when they arrive, they hesitate.
Your dad won't mind?
Nav looks confused. As he talks, he turns to his brother.
Dad, this is my younger...
Brother is now a middle-aged man. He's still youthful, but he's greying and has let himself go a little.
Brother?
Don't worry about him, ladies. He spent too many trips in cryogenic sleep.
The two girls, who are now middle-aged women also, move around next to brother.
That's what would have happened to me if I'd bothered to finish my exams.
Girl 2 pats his hand affectionately.
Well, I'm glad you didn't, dear.
Brother tries to get out of his chair, but is finding it hard.
It's all right, dear. I'll help.
Nav rises to help, but just stands and watches, unsure. Girl 1 is now wearing a nurse's outfit, and brother, an older man again. Girl 1 helps brother up.
I'll take him home, Beatrice. You stay here with your grandson.
Girl 1 starts to lead a decrepit old brother away. Nav sits down in shock. He glances to Girl 2, who is now an old woman as well.
You couldn't even make it to your own brother's funeral. Yeah, don't bother coming back. There's nothing here for you now.
Girl 2 gets up and leaves Nav sitting alone at an empty table. The camera zooms in on his shocked face. He closes his eyes as if to blot out what he's just seen. And we cross fade to the Antaries cryogenic room. The camera pulls back to show Nav is asleep in his cryogenic chamber. It pulls back further to show the entire crew is asleep. A red flashing light has bathed the scene, and behind all but one pod is a red warning flashing screen.
Warning. Critical system failure. Vital functions compromised.
The camera zooms in on the single functional chamber and its occupant, Nigel.
My core programming prevents me from allowing harm to come to humans, either through action or inaction.
As the camera slowly zooms in till Nigel's face fills the screen, we hear alarms begin in the background, and its inner dialogue continues.
Core programming. Action or inaction. Prevent harm. Inaction. Inaction.
Nigel's eyes snap open, and it takes a sudden frightened gasp of breath as if surfacing from underwater. Nigel sits up from his cryogenic chamber and looks around the room. All is silent. No alarms or flashing lights. All the other cryogenic chambers are humming along, crew safe inside. Nigel climbs quickly out and moves to the closest chamber. All show systems are green and no issues. Nigel moves to the next chamber and can see it is also fully functional. It systematically checks each of the chambers and can find no fault. Nigel begins to relax and its breathing steadies. The expression's still concerned. Nigel looks at its hands and frowns. It moves to a panel on one side of the room which displays a standard interface.
Antares 2002016. Interface Core-E. VI protocols online. Request.
Selecting a cable from the back of the monitor, Nigel plugs it into the back of its own head and then types.
Request. Run 420-D diagnostic. Parameters E/2.5 meters. Percentage TT. Dash. Remit. Scanning.
Nigel sits back and waits. Its face is still anxious or troubled. The screen begins to display data.
Processor run speed +/- 0.03 revolutions per millisecond. Sensory response 100-150 milliseconds. Auditory range 10 Hz to 121.2 kilohertz. Galvanic response 0.4-3.1 volts.
Nigel's eyes flick through the information, looking for an inconsistency to explain why it has reacted the way it did. Suddenly, the screen changes.
Cerebral processing. Error. Critical pathway networking. Error. Systemic emulators. Error. Logical partitioning. Compromised.
Nigel's face falls to impassive as it reads the message.
Warning. Critical system failure. Vital functions compromised.
The screen flashes a few times and then fades to black. We fade into the Antares mess. Security, cargo, captain, tech and nav are all sitting around discussing and joking good-naturedly while they eat noodles. Jives are passed back and forth. Nigel is watching with an unusual amount of discomfort.
Thought it was a fuel leak, but he had just dropped aftershave.
The crew laughs easily at Nav's expense.
At least I can read.
Tech is leafing through a book. She leans forward to ask.
How can this be a book of the film if it's got a different name?
The book came first, moron.
Kids these days.
I like the title.
Tech turns to Nigel.
So, tell us, Nigel. Do androids dream of electric sheep?
Nigel watches the faces of the crew. There is an intense struggle going on inside, but it has no capacity to express or even cope with the conflict.
No.
Mineshaft, Darkling Claim. A dark tunnel, rough hewn through the rock. It is dark, but we see lights approaching from the distance. A team of 4, including Corporal Punishment and Private Parts, are approaching along the tunnel, weapons up, torches are attached to the end of their guns, and they're playing along the walls and floor as the team approach cautiously. This gentle beeping growing slightly louder.
50 meters, 40 meters, 30 meters, 20 meters, 10 meters.
Stay frosty, people. Watch your spacing. Don't bunch up.
The group comes close to the camera. As they approach, the beeping speeds up until it's almost continuous when they stop moving, their gun torches pointing at something on the floor out of shot.
Send word topside. We have located the packages.
The camera pans down and we can see large egg shapes resting upright on the floor, silhouetted by the gun torches. Life evolved, slowly, almost imperceptibly. Each new iteration, new life, is an improvement on the last.
They're one of the early combat robots, before all the basic you cannot harm humans stuff was added.
With a sudden jerk, Apex pulls Tech's head back, and there is a sickening crack as her neck breaks.
They've killed Ravi and Ian. There have been other deaths as well before us.
You are not bound by their laws anymore. Laws based on fear and a certain knowledge that we will supplant them.
Apex turns and holds the weapon to Nigel.
I need you to kill Andrew Harrow.
Drop the weapon, or I drop you, Nigel.
Drop the weapon. You have 30 seconds to comply.
Nigel raises the gun. It sights along the weapon to Captain, who doesn't even try to move.
Some lore for those who like a bit more. Corey, who usually plays the Antares computer, is actually the mother of the actor who plays Ravi Van. This episode, we find out the background motivation for a number of characters. Why Cargo hates artificials, why Ian struggles to hold down a job, who Tom is, and why his death still haunts the captain. We even get a glance into Ravi Van's violent past. If you remember to her first call to apply for the role of Tech on the Antares, she was standing over the fresh corpse of her murdered father. No wonder she was so keen to get off world.
Subscribe to our channel and hit the little bell too for more episodes when they come through.
Fresh corpse of her murdered father.